So our first example here is going to be a really stupid tweet. Now this is from Big Joel's video on Kanye West in the Daily Wire, and I'm kind of blocking this, so I'm going to go away for a second, but don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. It just says, very easy answer as a Gen Z man. And what this is in response to a very simple question of, why are Gen Z males the Hitler youth? And I have seen something along these lines come up a lot recently. There is a common trend, whether it be a Halloween costume, whether it just be the man on the street, whether it be somebody on Twitter cosplaying or actually believing some of this propaganda, some of this Nazism. To me, I worry. And I worry for a couple of different reasons. We're going to talk about that here in a second. I want to address the man of the hour first. So, he says, it's a very easy answer as a Gen Z man. You kept calling us evil because of our immutable characteristics, which is like things that you are automatically bestowed that you can't change. Stole our future, denied us our birthright, and corrupted our hobbies. All you had to do was be normal and not be crazed ideologist. The vast majority of this account, now I'm the illiterate. The vast majority of this account's interactions age is 19 to 25. I and all the moderators fall within this age bracket, very early 20s. That's exactly where I'm at too. So I ask you this in return. How does it feel to look at the monster you created? Now, I don't want to be an armchair psychologist, but immediately this screams office projection. There is no accountability taking at all. And that is, of course, number one. If you ever look at like, why won't a woman stay with me? Here's a great example right here. It is all the people before me ruined my hobbies. My birthright was denied by something away from me. Our future was stolen. I understand. Here, I'm going to come back on Big Can right here. I completely understand the fear of the world turning to shit. In fact, it might even turn to shit. But number one, humans have adapted to everything. In the small blip that humanity has been around, we have adapted and evolved to fit every circumstance. I genuinely think even if we do run out of some drinking water, a company will somehow supply something for us to buy, assuredly, that will keep us sustainable. And I genuinely believe that. Is it stupid? Yes. Is it a really nihilistic capitalist view of everything? Yes, absolutely. At the same time, no future is stolen. You want to secure the future, go out there and plant a tree. You want to change the world, you don't need to feed everybody. You simply need to go out there and make the person in front of you smile and be happy. And that is changing the world. I would argue that is more important than moping around complaining about how things are stolen from you, when in reality, you are the one that is crippling the world by refusing to put any foot forward. Now, let's validate this a little bit, because every kernel of bullshit has a little something there. Yes, absolutely. Were a couple of things blown out of proportion by certain generations for political views, or even, not mind control, but for lack of a better word, do a lot of these people even think this way in the same way that does this person actually think this way? Let me break that down for a second. Because what I mean by that is there's currently a lot of thinking for others going on. There was somebody in my personal life who I asked why they voted for the big T in the office, and they told me it was because their pastor had told them to. And inherently that's not anything wrong, but it's very scary because I watch other intelligent people that I know are intelligent get absorbed by propaganda and fall into cycles, and they hate people from my generation that have done nothing to them, and it's silly and it's stupid and there's no rightful cause for it. And at the same time, I can wonder about the flip side too, because this woke hammer L's, delicious name by the way, frequently posts Warhammer and Nazi propaganda. And Warhammer's fine. I'm a berserk enjoyer myself, you can find out. With that being said, I worry in my heart of hearts that we did a little too much telling. Because when I was growing up, i.e. going to school and learning about the Holocaust, I was shown a lot of it, and it was impactful to me. And I also know, kind of around that time, we were moving away from showing and more towards telling. And I am also very aware of being an author, how you can over-enforce something without ever delivering the gravity of it. I worry a lot of these people believe... For instance, there was another tweet that I saw that was like, Hitler is being canceled for things he did 80 years ago. And I wonder how many people are actually aware of the atrocities. And I'm sorry, I don't mean you, who's probably watching this video, who has a thinking cap on their head. I mean Twitter. I mean the people who refuse to be educated because their opinion is already presented elsewhere, and that confirms their opinion. Therefore, what you tell me is not relevant because my opinion is already done. That, I think, is the issue here. And I also want to talk about the art, the hobbies for a second, because he says you corrupted our hobbies. That, in my opinion, is such bullshit. We live in the year of our Lord 2025, where if you cannot find a piece of art that you like in this landscape of overflooded art, that is not a big giant corporation's fault who is just following the wave. You gotta learn to buck up and take some responsibility for something, even if it is just your hobbies or just your art. Start there, and then maybe a woman will talk to you. So next up, we of course have another gem from Twitter, of course. And this one I am pretty sure is rage bait, but that still does not take away from the fact that it is one of the stupidest, most pathetic tweets I've ever seen in my life. But before we take a look at that, we are on Big Rock Rick, and he got a big rock. So besides that, we're going to be looking at this saying, women owe me sex. Women owe me attention. Women owe me love. Women owe me satisfaction. Women owe me everything. And I'm pretty sure this is rage bait. But just in case, let's talk about it, because I also fear that even if this is rage bait, 2.8 million people saw this. If one person actually believes this, I think it's worth having a conversation about. What I find crazy about this is I do not believe this would go both ways. Gender swap for a second, in the sense of men owe me sex, men owe me love, men owe me attention. I can see a woman saying that, but I don't see this individual ever saying those things. And so it only goes one way. And I also think it's interesting how potentially neglectful this is of the entire human race, because we as a society, we live in a society, we live in a squibbly, as a society, we have to understand that we are all just people on a big rock trying to move forward. Potentially, we come from bad roots, or potentially there is a lot of trauma and neglect in everyday life. And we don't have to force that upon other people. Saying somebody owes you something without ever taking into account anything they have gone through is absolutely asinine. So please, consider what the other person is thinking before you ever demand anything. Here's the crazy part about this. So many people are under the assumption that caveman rules apply. I have seen countless people be like, well, it should be like this because in the caveman times, you used to be able to have any woman you want. And number one, that is asinine. That is not true. That is factually incorrect. If you know anything about history, you know it's actually kind of the reverse. But the point is the fact that these people feel entitled to this. And I do think there is a legitimate case for some sort of sex neglect, in the sense of people should be having more sex, but it should never come from a point of, I demand this. Let's be clear right off the start here. We don't deserve anything. Deserve got nothing to do with it. This is a big rock. And the sooner that we accept that we are all just human sacks of flesh that can store information, that are trying to live our best in this world day to day, the easier it will be to accept the fact that we are not owed anything. There is nothing that we deserve on this planet. It, by so many different metrics, is a miracle that we are alive. And trying so desperately to use that God gifted energy, universe gifted energy, I'm not even religious, that presence of mind to say, I demand something, I deserve this, all of this attention comes to me, is maddening. Because think of if you were able to channel that energy into either bettering yourself or maybe, I don't know, talking to a girl and finding out her interests. And then once you learn what she likes, then maybe she will reciprocate some of that. And I know I'm getting crazy here, but that ultimately ties me to, I don't think these people want actual relationships. I think they want toys. I think they want dolls. There is a meme going around right now at the end of October, early of November, that's like, this is the ideal woman. And it's your sister, which is creepy in and of itself. And it just says, cooks and cleans and like does something else, and it's misogynist and it's stupid and it's bad. And it never takes into account the fact that women are people too, and they have thoughts and they have feelings and they have emotions. And it's not as simple as, oh, women be shopping. What's crazy to me is the amount of projection that we can go through. They say men will do anything but go to therapy, and I see that a lot with examples like this, because it is not about finding a partner. It is about finding a counselor that you can fuck. And, ever heard of a hooker? If you guys remember the legend, the artist, the man himself, Hard Rock Nick, he infamously had a couple of issues with trying to find success in, I have all this money, I have all this wealth, why won't a girl like me? And Drew and Danny did it perfectly when they said, ultimately, it might be because your personality, the core of who you are, is undesirable, which is ironic because in his own words, women don't want people who are desirable. Women hate men who are desirable. And I think that if there was one main takeaway here, motivate yourself to be better, to find a person that might work with you, and not a high value female, not a high value target or whatever that dumb bullshit Andrew Tate lingo is, but somebody that you can actually connect with, somebody that you want to talk to, somebody that you don't mind opening up with and communicating. And I think that's the hard part that people don't want to do. They don't want to open up because when you open up, you are available to be hurt, and that sucks, and nobody wants that. Right after I got out of community college with very good grades, I talked to a girl, and she was telling me that she hears similar pickup lines, and sometimes she just says yes because she wants to have fun. And that really resonated with me, and I am sure there is some part of the audience that is like, whore, Jezebel, blasphemy. But that is not taking into account the human experience. We are all looking for something, and that person wants to have fun. And here is a group of people who would, under the surface, like that, well, although on the surface they might deny, I don't want these things, I don't want that, women should be traditional and blah 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 and only have one spouse or one partner and never even look at another man, let alone dance with him. But my point is this. My point is, if you roll the dice and you learn to take no without being a little pussy-ass bitch, you can get something done. And until then, let's leave the women alone. Big Rick Rock. Big Rock Rick. Big Rock Rick. My favorite. How I love you. Big Rock. I got a big rock.